Joke of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did the architect hit on the angle? It's right there. Eomki, miss, I'll be very
It was a
disappointed.
cute.
Yes, it was a cute
Wow.
one.
It was cute. Sawa.
It was a cute one.
Yeah, and then we
Okay.
tafuta. You said it was right there. I looked for that. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to On Our Friday podcast. Thanks for tuning in, Manze. This is a podcast where we chat out and we just talk about everything. We try and be really frank and open. And we are always, excuse me, and we are here every Friday.
Every other Friday.
Every other Friday.
Una raising high expectations.
Point is, ukikuja Friday, they'll get content. We do have content every Friday.
Uh-huh.
On social media, on IG at On Our Friday Podcasts, on Spotify, on Apple Music
Podcast.
and Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apple Podcast, yeah.
Yeah. Google Podcasts,
Inaenda.
AfriPods.
Yes.
So we're in different places, YouTube, and if you're also catching us from radio, cool. So we're in different platforms and we're doing well. Continue watching us on a Friday podcast. Continue listening to us. I am Pascal.
I'm Ron.
And today we have a guest and she's back.
Guess who's
Yeah.
back?
Hello.
Yeah.
We're going to get on a cut at Gina.
Back
Watch
again.
out again.
Today we have a guest. We've had really good conversations with her. And we are so glad to have her back. Where the conversations are so nice. Zime hit vipoa sana. Like every single episode that has you as a feature, manzi wasa wanapenda. They really like coming out for that.
Sweet voice.
Sijui ni voice ama content ama ni
Both.
10 years in school.
Both.
The combination ya zote. Please introduce yourself again.
Hi everyone, my name is Cynthia. Najua mmenisikia a while before, wakili. So you can actually probably guess what kind of topic we'll be discussing today because I'm here. But I think they need to also include me in those other topics.
Casual.
Casuals.
Azihitaji wakili.
Yeah.
Advocate amecomplain leo.
Just a question, just a quick question wakili alafu vitu zina
A quick
spiral.
one. Wakili a quick one.
Wakili a quick one. Hizo zingine hazikuwa
Na
quick
mnieke
one.
kwa retainer. Now,
No. Now you see why
Sasa
tumweki kwa hizo zingine.
anaanza kuchoma.
Ndio maana tunamwita episode moja per season.
anyway.
But we're glad to have you. Today's
Thank
conversation
you.
did need an advocate because we want to actually have a candid conversation about sexual harassment. And it's
First, tunaweza patiana inaitwangaje? That
A disclaimer.
disclaimer. Yeah, if you'd find this conversation triggering,
yeah.
you might want to I'm tempted to say tread carefully before listening, but you get the point.
Yeah.
Because we want to cover sexual harassment in office setting as well as in tertiary institutions.
Yeah.
And there are people who've been through it, so it's understandable that you find it triggering. There are people who've been accused of it, and that also is triggering. There are people who know people who've had either side. So for those situations, poleni, tunaelewa. But for the rest of us, and I think true to say the majority, we do need to have this conversation here. What does sexual harassment look like? Now, you said, Ron, in the office and at school, those are the two areas we're trying to look at.
Tertiary institutions like
the
universities,
yeah,
because
campuses
high school and primary, that's a whole different conversation.
So the reason we're doing tertiary is because we're thinking over 18, so we're not looking at below 18. So sexual harassments between two adults, either in the workplace, wherever you work, or at school. So Cynthia, start us on that one. What constitutes sexual harassment?
Okay.
But first of all, is there a legal definition of sexual harassment?
Yes. It's provided under the Employment Act, Section 6. I'll actually read from it. I will not read it verbatim. Verbatim nile by word. I'll just explain.
Hata si tumesoma.
Tunajua verbatim.
Hata kama we are not the learned friends.
So I'll just explain what sexual harassment is and what it constitutes. So sexual harassment, one, must touch on an employee, or in this case, if you're a student in your university. So it is where an employer or a representative of the employer or a co-worker. So if it's in a tertiary institution, then now it's like a lecturer or a fellow student. Yes. Directly or indirectly requests for a sexual favor. So it might be direct or indirect, and it must be a sexual favor. And it has some purpose. So the sexual favor is to either give you preferential treatment. Number 2, to threaten or to cause detrimental treatment. Or number 3, to threaten your present or future employment. So yes. So if it's a tertiary institution, the same thing.
Yeah, like for grades.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it comes in different forms. That's where people usually get it very wrong, because they automatically assume it's verbal, but it can be written, spoken, visual. So if I'm at my desk watching a pornographic video or a picture, and Ron, you just sit behind me, and I know you sit behind me, and you're likely to look at my screen from time to time, then that can actually form sexual harassment.
Sorry, not that I do that in the office anyway, but but can't I assume I'm the one watching the X-rated content at the office now and on akanyuma yangu? Can't I make the argument that why were you looking at my screen in the first place?
But why would you be looking at a pornographic video or picture while at work?
That's between me and the company. Where are you coming in?
Is it even right?
No, like it's not. I agree with you.
But that's
not
between him and the company.
Yeah, it's between me and management.
But I would find it offensive, because imagine me naendelea tu hapo kazi, and then I just look at your screen and I'm like, I find it offensive. So maybe you might be asking me for a sexual favor and I don't know. So keep the X-rated videos at home.
Okay.
But yeah, asking for sexual favors. Again, we said sorry, so I'm gonna really be truthful.
Because they happen.
Yeah.
They do happen.
In fact, I'm from hearing this scenario today at work. Them or a guy aki spanky them. How he's not asking for any sexual favor. Let's say just a compliment like, "What?" Followed by, he's not asking for any sexual favor. In fact, perhaps it ends there.
Yeah.
How does that come off as sexual harassment?
It's still sexual harassment because it's unwanted. That's the other element of sexual harassment. The fact that hata ile isi, unajua ile unafanyia, yes, ama unakaa fiti leo, you know, kuna ile borderline, you know, so long as it's unwanted, then it can be likely proved as sexual harassment. Of course, there are components to it. It must be unwanted. It must fall in these categories. It must be written, physical, visual, spoken. And then there's also the element of a sexual favor. So, it can actually be direct or indirect or implied or expressed. So there are those components. But the main component is unwanted.
Okay.
Yes. I just don't want that kind of attention, you know, at the workplace.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I have a few questions to that. Firstly, if I'm to address what Pascal has just said, before that, if I understand you correctly, it can have the element of a favor.
Yes.
For a favor.
Yes.
Or it might not. Like, it can still be considered sexual harassment even though it doesn't have the element here, a favor attached to it.
So long as it's unwanted.
Okay.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Higher. Kayo Pascal, the scenario that he's involved, but yenye ametoka could describe, I would see, personally, I would, even at seeing it, I wouldn't even dream in participating in something like that at the office. But even seeing it, I'd be like, I don't understand how ulitoka tu mali umetoka. Ukafikiria that's an appropriate thing to do at the office.
Yeah.
Like here.
Yeah, spanking someone.
Really?
haifai.
True.
By the
true.
Yeah, it's
because
true.
office dynamics sometimes can be very weird.
Inaweza kuwa two youngins wako poa na kuanga kiinteract.
Yes.
Yeah, they just go on and do that.
True. And the more you work, the more, at least in a corporate setting, the more you understand why companies have like policies discouraging office romance. Because a lot of times, which is where my question when it comes to your party are unwanted, which is I'm trying to connect it to some level with the implicit nature of some advances. Because one thing about communication is, and it's something we have discussed before, it not only matters what the conveyor of the message intends. The receiver of the message is also playing a huge role in the communication. So that's one thing I'm trying to wrap my head around when it comes to implicit advances, because you can pick up an implication that I didn't intend from my words or from my actions. I'll give you a very silly example. When I was in class 7, I won't mention her name. Ulisema ukweli, lazima ndakuwa na story. When I was in class 7, there's a time I used to daydream a lot. Either I did, especially in the afternoons, either I'm daydreaming or I'm sleeping in class for some reason. So with that habit, I also had a very bad habit ya kubite my lip. I think part of the reason ilikuwa my lips were usually very cracked.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just lick them.
Nauma. Not even licking.
Okay,
like I'm trying to bite the skin off my nini.
Okay.
Even.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm trying to.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, so one afternoon, I'm in class, I'm just zooming. Like me I'm not paying attention per se. Nimezuba, basically. Nimezuba. Then it just so happened that I was looking towards this specific girl's direction. Mimi simuoni. Mimi I'm zoned out. Then that habit coupled with hiyo nauma lips. So all of a sudden, nasikia naniongelesha. Alafu it genuinely felt like the movies. Unaona venye movies inaonyeshanga msee akitoka ku zone out, nika ana come back to reality pole. It kind of felt like that because all of a sudden, now I'm in the middle of an argument and I don't understand how this argument started. So like, nafikiria mimi wasichana wako unasumbuana. Niko like, wait. What is happening?
Okay.
Yeah, I had a lot of girl drama in primary. but all of a sudden, anyway. So all of a sudden, she's coming at me.
Yeah, and offended.
She's coming at me.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to wrap my head around what exactly is happening. And I'm like, okay, nini mbaya? Like, just tell me, let's call her. Ilikuwa niseme Jane, but we had a Jane. But Jane alikuwa ametransfer by then. Haingekuwa yeye.
Okay.
So let's call her Jane.
Yeah.
So Jane is coming at me na muuliza, Jane ni nini mbaya? So as she's finishing kurantio, unafikiria mimi ni wasichana wao. Then namuuliza, kwa nini nimefanya? Ananiambia, unafikiri utaniumia mdomo hivyo? Imagine this has nothing to do with you. Okay, I'm sorry that you have felt offended, but this has nothing to do with you. Mimi mimi niko dunia yangu. Mimi siko hapa. So unaona, in that situation, she perceived something that wasn't intended from my end.
Okay.
When I get. So how does the law balance that?
Yeah,
because unaona in such a situation, hata kukikuwa na eyewitness tutasema enye Ron alikuwa namwangalia kiuma mdomo. That is true. That is factually accurate. But mimi nilikuwa zangu. Mimi hata sikuwa namuona. So how does the law balance such a scenario?
By the law, can we look at school in this scenario? That's a school setting and students are often in that kind of situation. Maybe you were just winking in a direction. Ama ulikuwa tu ukiona umefanya tu ufala but turn out dem ako mbele yako ama a guy ako mbele yako. It happens both ways. So unabaki uko alleged, uko accused, na ulikuwa ukifanya tu something innocently. So school kwanza, how does school handle that and how
So I'll go back to the definition. You see, like I explained, there are components. Because, for example, I may like the example you have given, you may just do something that comes out sexual, but you don't intend for it to become a sexual favor. Just that you've done something that can be perceived as a sexual act. So for a sexual harassment claim to be proved, then you need all these components to work towards the same thing. So there must be unwanted, there must be some unwanted, the person who's receiving it must not want it. Then it must be a sexual favor, right? In whatever form, right? Then there must be a basis to it. So do you want maybe a preferential treatment? Or are you trying to intimidate someone or humiliate someone? Because that's the other aspect. There are people who intentionally just, be it even, the other thing, sexual harassment, people tend to think it's from a man to a woman. It can be from the other way, where it's a woman in power. And they're really, really trying to humiliate someone,
Okay. Yeah.
in a
Especially
sexual
the
way.
humiliating.
So they come and they try and rub their hand against your shoulder. Wamekuja na kushika ndevu, Yes. So there must
Pascal
be...
can relate. MCS.
So there must be something. There
Yeah.
must be something.
Yeah.
So it's not just preferential treatment. Yes. It's not just preferential treatment or something that may deter or may be detrimental to your workplace or your working environment. May it actually be something that embarrasses you. Yes. So if it's a classroom and someone is always on your case, or they're always talking about your what? Maybe because you wear very tight trousers, people can see
Your
maybe
calves,
your bum or nini, and they are always touching on that thing. If it affects you as a person and other people have witnessed it, then that's sexual harassment.
Okay, and we'll cover, we're trying to do this as a two-part, so we will come down to talk about how it affects you as a person.
The psychological...
Yes, the psychological
effects.
angle with a psychologist. But sticking to the law side, what are the expected ways that school is supposed to prevent or is supposed to safeguard Jane from Ron and Ron from Jade? During this situation, Jane feels attacked.
Yeah.
And in this situation also, Ron feels attacked. From Ron's POV, imetoka out of nowhere.
Yeah.
From Jane's POV, Ron anazuba akimwangalia
And I'm eye-bang in class.
akimmezea mate hapa, and she can't
true.
focus. So what's the school policy, or how should it be?
So what?
But to be clear, we are dealing with tertiary institutions. Because example, nimepatia ni nikiwa primo.
Tertiary.
So for workplaces and tertiary institution, they must. It's mandatory actually right now to have a sexual harassment policy. Yes. If you look at the Employment Act, it provides for a minimum number of employees. But if you look at the international laws, some have actually provided it need not, even if we are 3 people in a certain organization.
Minimum number? Like, if you are less than a certain number in your
sexual
you guys can't be sexually harassed.
And
that's why you need it
I'm
I'm
actually looking at the Employment Act. Inasema, an employer who employs 20 or more people shall, after the employment with the employees or their representative, if any, issue our policy on sexual harassment. So you see, from the Employment Act, it provides must be 20 and more. Right? But if you look at the international laws, it does not provide a minimum. Yeah. So depending with your argument, and I feel it shouldn't be because we are 10 employees in a certain organization or a tertiary institution, then we can't have a sexual harassment policy.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to cure the problem, and actually there's a report in 2011, that is back then, 2011, the Kenya Human Rights Commission published a report that says that Kenya has one of the serious problem when it comes to sexual harassment. That was back in 2011. So you can imagine, say, to go 2024. you can imagine there are a number of cases currently, right?
Yeah.
So how the law is structured under the Employment Act, I feel it should be changed. Should be changed, actually.
It actually should be, because
a
lot of companies, especially SMEs, a lot of SMEs don't have 20 employees.
True.
Yeah.
They have less.
At informal jobs.
Like so many registered companies out here have like 5 to 12 employees.
Yeah.
I don't know when you're on record as the employees. So now learning that the law doesn't compel them.
But then I'll put, because I know I'll just get tapata zile comments. This law came in 2007. A lot of things have changed, of course. So I'm guessing, because right now there are many, many bills in our current government that have not yet been passed. I'm guessing there must be one that touches on this specific clause, because it needs to be changed so that a company that employs less than 20 people does not rely on this clause to state that, you know what?
The law doesn't compel us to have
and without a sexual harassment policy, then what are the measures a company is taking in place to protect its employees at a tertiary institution? Because it's very, very important to have a policy. That way, it guides the people on what happens, such a situation happens.
Can you tell us some of the things that this policy provides guidelines on?
Yeah, sure.
Now we know they are there. If you're 20 plus, by law, they're supposed to be there. If you're less, sour. But they're there. So we might not know them. For all the companies I've actually MCJ encounter a sexual harassment, but seeing that it is there, what does it tell?
So one, even before I provide for the components that should be included in the policy, employees must be trained on it. Every new employee that comes into that organization must be trained on it.
Able to define training.
Training and awareness. Wanaambiwa, this is a policy. Look at it. Right? They even ask some few questions so that, most HR policies people are given.
That is a surprise to me. Exactly. That is a surprise to me, because I've worked in a company. Okay, first of all, almost all the companies I've worked for, all they do is send it on email. These are the policies, kindly go through them.
Booklet
policies Now, it usually feels like they're just doing that to keep their end of the bargain. So that wakikuja kuulizwa, does Ron know there's this policy? Watasema yes, because we sent it on email. There's this email enye tulimtumia that has that policy. So we have done our part. But when I hear you say training, that's when Imolza, what exactly does training mean? Because I've never gone through a training. It has even gotten to a point where there's a company I've worked with before, tuliaguna HR about what's in the policy. Ananiambia, no, unajua nini, fraternization is not allowed. Naambia, that's not what the policy says, because I have read it. Adi akaenda print physically, kwambia, kuna soft copy, yes, but if you need to see the evidence in hard copy for you to believe me, which you are the HR, how do you not know this? You're the one who allegedly helped in drafting this thing. Akaileta ndo nikwambia, soma hapa, inasema nini. It's allowed. Actually, you're not allowed to make fun of people who are fraternizing in the office. So,
but it doesn't talk against fraternizing in the office.
No, it just
says do not make fun of people who are fraternizing.
Yes, it says.
But it also doesn't say fraternizing is allowed.
Ati?
It also doesn't say fraternizing is allowed.
It says, nimesahau.
But it wasn't
clear. How did you understand it?
Ati?
How did you understand?
How I understood it was, it's allowed for colleagues to date. Just when you find out that your colleagues are dating, don't make fun of them. That's what's not allowed. That was explicitly forbidden in the policy. But
there was no sexual...
Hakuna.
You see? And you'll find most organizations will rely on this specific provision under the law, But if you're really a progressive employer, if you're a tertiary institution that really cares for your people, have such a policy. Because watu wanaumia huku nje, kwa maofisi, people are really suffering.
Even in schools.
Even in school, yeah, true.
Let's come to that.
Okay.
What are the elements?
Yes. So the components is, one, you should clearly explain what sexual harassment means, the different forms. So even provide pictorial, examples. Just make it very clear. People understand what sexual harassment is.
Yeah.
Then you should have a designated body or a committee that handles such cases or complaints. Then there should be no victimization of the people who come forward. And you should also provide for a situation where if I'm sexually harassed and I feel I can't go directly to that certain body, be it the HR or some other committee, then I can always call upon Ron or Pascal to go on my behalf. Right?
Yeah, true. Sometimes it's things that you don't want to be there in front of the person who did that. Yeah, true.
And then there must be, the committee or the body should have both male or females, because there are people who will feel comfortable talking to a man, others will feel comfortable talking to a lady. Yes. And then the other thing, there must be the disciplinary actions that will be taken. If you're found, of course, there must be a hearing, because usually that is how these things go. So I say I'm sexually harassed, then you say who it was, maybe if it's wrong. So usually, to protect the identity, I might be told not to come forward. They'll just have the report, on this day you send this text, or on this day people
they'll
saw
have
you.
the evidence.
Yes. And then they call upon Ron to now say his side of the story, because you might have be propagating lies. I might be propagating lies anyway. And then after now they decide, when the body decides, then there are disciplinary actions. So it can vary. Can be dismissal when it's really, really serious. There might be transfer. So if you're working in accounting department, you are moved to another department. But the disclaimer with that, or the caveat, is I must be asked if I'm okay with this person being transferred to this certain department.
You as the victim.
Me as the victim. Because if you're still on the same floor...
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Or who can be transferred could be the victim or the alleged...
The alleged perpetrator, not me.
Or not, okay.
Yeah, because you find some organization, you'll find the accounting, the HR department are on the same floor. So if you move this person to another department, now they are still on the same floor.
They still see each other every day.
Yeah. So you may move them to another company. Or maybe now there are people who are just given verbal warnings. Just don't do this again. Maybe if it's not so serious. So it just depends from company to company, from tertiary institution to tertiary institution. But you must have those disciplinary or actions or sanctions.
Yeah. And again, we'll touch on the psychological bit.
And that's the other thing. For the victim, then you must put in measures to just aid this person to overcome that.
They're required to do that?
Yeah. No, they are not required. It just depends with the police. They are not structured. Si lazima ikuwe na hii na hii na hii. So it just depends from company to company. But there are those bare minimums. Of course, if you're...
So that's not part of the bare minimum.
No, it's
recommended.
Not. It's recommended. Yes.
Okay. So that's internal, either for the school or for the company that you're working with, or the informal business you're on. If it goes beyond that, it goes to national level. How does that, or it goes into national laws. How will that look like? Perhaps mmekosa kuelewana after all those process.
And Ngoja, before that, actually, I was interested to know what, because I think what you're trying to question, or the question you're trying to pose is, now what if it doesn't work on a company level? Okay, before we get to that, because I'm also interested in that, but I'm curious to know what happens to if it is proven that the accusations, the sexual harassment, are false. How is that case treated legally? How is that case treated?
Internally, bado.
Internally or legally?
If you have insights on both, that would be helpful.
Okay. So legally, if you of course are able to prove your case, because when it comes to case, it's more storytelling.
Yes.
It's my word against yours. So if I don't have the evidentiary, the evidence, then you win, right? So in that case, then you're free to go, right? You're free to go back to your normal duties. But in an internal setting, well, that's the case, because I am guessing it should be still the case. If you brought me forward, I brought you forward for sexual harassment, then Ron will be told, I'll be told, of course you lied, let Ron go back to his normal duties. But here's the thing. Already there's a beef between me and Ron. There's no way we are, and definitely how offices are structured, the information will go outside. People will find out, I accused or I wanted kuharibia Ron's employment, so I accused him of sexual harassment. So what I would advise, so there's no clear cut on what to do, but what I would advise in such a situation, just do a transfer. Don't let these people stay in the same working environment. Yeah. And of course, if I actually lied because of my malicious intention, then there should be some disciplinary action taken against me.
Does the law provide for that?
No, the law does not provide for that, because usually in cases of sexual harassment, it's me bringing forward the case, right? It's the same way if someone steals. It's me who's aggrieved. So I've gone, I've reported this case. So I say this, and this happened to me. You can't put forward your defense. So in such an instance, if the court rules in your favor, then you're free to go. Or what?
Okay, let me put a slam dunk hypothetical situation, just so that ni understand the base yenye tunaanza nayo tukipanda. So assume there's a case, sexual harassment that I have brought forward against you.
Oh, I get it now.
Alafu, nime submit my evidence. Unaona hata he was talking like this
on text,
kwa text nini.
Ukiangalia kamera utaona alinikaribia zaidi.
Like umekuja hata that day jioni at 6 p.m. nilikuwa kwa ofisi, akakuja akaingia kwa ofisi yangu akaniambia sijui nini or akafanya kitu kaa hiyo. So ilikuwa mimi na present the case ama ni wewe?
So
who was being assaulted here? Who was being harassed? Is it me or
wewe?
Mimi. Okay, sir. I present the case. Sindio? Then wewe ukuje. Mimi nime provide nini screenshots zangu. Then wewe ukuje uambiwe by the way you are under investigation. Under investigation for sexual harassment. Uonyeshe text. Wewe hata si screenshot unatuma. Uonyeshe text. So many.
So many the entire conversation.
Kusoma, this is the conversation. Then wakuje find out I photoshopped my conversation to look like you. You were saying inappropriate things. Alafu ile siku yenye nasema uliingia kwa ofisi yangu at 6 to do ABCD whatever. Hiyo siku there's video footage at the office showing that ulitoka 5.
Okay.
At 6 uko kwa ofisi.
Okay.
So that is a clear slam dunk case. That Ron is lying. Does the law have the provision of punishing Ron?
Yes.
For trying to tarnish Cynthia's reputation?
Yes, defamation.
Okay.
Yeah, defamation. Because you're saying defamatory things about me. Because defamation ideally is if you say false statements that are likely to ruin my reputation. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's actually a crime. It's a tortious. It can be viewed both. It can be civil or criminal. So that's defamation now.
Okay, so
I can say you apologize or you pay me some amount of money.
Hey, my apology won't be enough.
Yeah.
You will pay through your
Actually,
loans
most
to pay
sexual harassment claims that turn out to be lies, they usually go that route. It becomes a defamation claim. Yeah, because you lied. That
means it's gonna end in one of two ways. If the sexual harassment case ends up successful, then the victim may win. Now the alleged person now goes, it's punished. If it doesn't end up being successful, the alleged person don't sue the victim for defamation.
Yeah, defamation, even extortion.
Like hakuna immediate payback, hakuna immediate repercussion kaya umse mwingine. Wana umse mwingine, asha present the case, sindio, the alleged victim. Asha present the case. So the case is already in motion.
Yeah.
So if they find out that the alleged victim was lying, then doesn't the law just swing the other way? Waseme, well, Cynthia, you don't have to do anything. We got this.
No.
Now to deal now. Because
to deal now.
Why does it have to
Because all the evidence we have.
I know.
We have all the evidence. So now let's deal with Ron.
So they live in a situation where if Cynthia now goes to harass you, okay, well, you are the one who was lying.
Yes.
But if you harass Cynthia, not just lying, if you threaten Cynthia won't sue you for you tarnishing her name. So the law itakuacha hivyo. Nika kuna kitu imefanyika. Yet, we have all the evidence ya wendo umeharibu jina ya Cynthia hapa.
The bottleneck I see there is the law puts more work on my side. More work on your side in this scenario because me non medanganya. It puts more work on your side
me.
now to get the compensation that you deserve, which it has already assessed the evidence. Ikona Ronald ikona danganya. But now inakwambia we can't do anything just yet. Now go sue for defamation. Now it needs more work from you to actually get
you
justice. That's what I
He
find
who alleges
unfair.
must prove. That's bottom line.
The proof is already there.
And actually, there are cases where you can have those screenshots and those evidentiary evidence on text, but if they are not filed properly, the court refuses them. In Asama, you know what? Because there's a certain way of adducing electronic evidence. So if you go find a quack advocate to go and the was present in court itakata.
So many corner screenshots.
So there are certain ways. That's how the law operates.
Okay.
Because it's trying to limit situations where people come and lie and waste the court's time.
True.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Because there are people who literally are extorting you money and then anakuja anasema, sexual harassment. Right? Yeah.
Cynthia, from your experience, why don't people come up and actually want to pursue legal measures against sexual harassment?
Because it's embarrassing. It's all sexual offenses tend to be very embarrassing and humiliating. And you don't know how people will take it. Because if it's a workplace and maybe you don't have enough proof, or maybe the body decide to align themselves with the perpetrator, what happens to your job now? There's already that victimization. People won't want to talk to you. People will start saying nasty things about you.
You're the victim who
you're the one who was.
It's a sad situation. That's why it's important to make and to train and to make people aware of such situations.
Yeah. That makes sense. Now, twende kwa
actually, men don't speak up. Wanaonanga kama kawaida.
Yeah, which I have a whole theory on that, which I thought it was more appropriate for the psychological conversation than the legal. But now, if we go to Pascal's question, sasa nimekuwa harassed, Cynthia alikuja kanifanyia vitu mbaya kwa ofisi, nikaenda kureport kwa HR, and HR is not acting on it for one reason or another. Maybe
or sides with the perpetrator.
So what's next for me?
You file a case. Here is the thing. The Employment Act already makes it an offense. Not really an offense. A civil, the civil and criminal. So the Employment Act is more on the civil. So if something happens, then the end result is either payment of money. Those are civil cases. But then the Sexual Offences Act, Section 23, also provides sexual harassment as an offense. So you have two ways. You may decide to institute a civil case against the perpetrator, where you're claiming maybe damages, or you're claiming this person to be dismissed from the workplace, right? Whether it's a workplace or a tertiary institution. Or you may try and decide to file a criminal case. And the end result, actually, there are penalties. So if you're found guilty of a sexual harassment claim, then there are two. Yes, the penalties are two. So you can either be told you'll be fined 100,000 or term at least 3 years imprisonment, or both.
Yeah.
So you may choose any. So under the law, if the HR is not doing anything about it, if they are not professional enough to help you and to assist you in this matter, then take the route of kupeleka kotini.
Na wakili ako hapa.
And I think that's important because as we have discussed right before we came in here, kuna power dynamics zingine that you genuinely can't expect someone's case to be addressed exhaustively within the company setting. Because HR is not above management. I think everyone above the age of 18 knows that.
HR works for the
company.
They have been hired by,
like yourself.
Exactly. They are an employee. So if the management comes and harasses you, someone from management, now how do you, that's when nilikuwa nasema, it's like in a high school setting, kwenda kwa head boy, ku report principal. Like, it doesn't make sense because the head boy is below the principal. So in that setting, hata mimi still feel confident that HR will address my issues. I'll need another I'll need another avenue to explore.
And there are actually organizations where you find they completely don't have an HR department. Those in your HR. So what can you do?
Exactly.
The top management is the HR. If you need leave, you have to take it to the boss.
Yes.
So they don't have an HR department. And it is your boss that has sexually harassed you. What do you do? Just peleke kotini. Simple. And then you also quit because you can't stay there. Unfortunately.
In this economy, that's why people are still working.
That's the thing now.
Because unafikiria, do I lose my job or do I just
stay
alafu unaanza kujambia.
And then people will tell you ni kawaida, you know.
Yes.
Huyo mdosi anakuanga hivyo.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
People, that's the thing.
That has been said so many times. That's actually true.
There's a actually story today. One of our colleagues, ameomoka kiasi hivi juzi. So he moved his kid from a public school to IGCSE. Like a whole British system. Mtu ameenda huko, within the first 2 weeks mzazi ameitwa. No, mtu was sent home kwanza. Kambia rudi na mzazi. Kenda explainia the parent that hey, like, how are you? I've worked hard to take you to this school. How are you getting thrown out within 2 weeks? The child akamwambia story ati, you know, we were in class, getting to know my new classmates. It's a boarding. So getting to familiarize with the people, it's mixed boarding. Just getting to understand friends and making friends. And then aka compliment, but not in a complimentary way, but you know how kids are, they're all teenagers. Aka compliment another girl's, we call it bomb behind. That sent him to the principal. That got him suspended. Karudi na mzazi na akambia, by the way, this is going on his permanent record.
Wow.
Like, we are not forgetting this. Due to nasiati alishika hakufanya anything, ile tu compliment. The way wanafanyanga tu normally. Again, ametoka public school.
No, but I think,
alafu najua compliment si ati nice bum ni aya
umebeba.
Iyo.
The kawaida thing.
Personally, I find that very inappropriate. Just to set it on record. Personally, I find it very inappropriate.
But you need teenagers watu wako hapo.
I understand that. But I also think that they should learn from an early age about story complimenting the other people, whichever side they're on, gender-wise, they should learn how to appropriately compliment the other gender. But now my challenge you
way, though.
Now that's where I was coming in. Now my concern with that is again venye nilikuwa nasema, it almost, at least it feels like all the power imeachiwa to the receiver of the information. So that right now I don't have to say Cynthia umebeba for me to get in trouble. I can come and tell you, by the way, that dress looks nice. And I just continue about my business. Jioni nitwe na HR. Niambiwe, ulikuwa unatafuta nini kwa hiyo dress? Ulikuwa unatafuta nini kwa hiyo dress? Like, how did you? But niko like, but the dress looks nice. I didn't say habam. I didn't say amebeba. I just said, oh, by the way, you have a really nice dress today. Then I just moved on.
Yeah.
That is the issue I personally have. And how personally I now deal with that issue, because now I don't have the capacity to go and, change everything. I have been very notorious in the work settings that I've been in to not compliment people. I have been very
so
notorious.
you don't walk around like a jack mwenye hata noticingi dem akichange nywele give a different earrings.
Kuna siku hadi tukikuwa tu kwa an office outing dem fulani tu akakuja akauliza by the Ron, mbona tu niambiangi dress yangu? Nikamwambia nani? Mimi
never
nijikute
in my you just lose your job like that. And that dress was not even that nice.
Like it wasn't even that
nice. You're just trying to be nice.
I was just trying to be nice on a Monday morning. I was feeling happy.
Yeah.
The week had started on a right note. Then nikona, by the way, Cynthia's dress looks nice. So nikampita tu nikamwambia, by the way, your dress looks nice. Then I end up in trouble. So I've been very notorious. Actually, in my former working place, my most recent former working place, there's only one lady I used to compliment. She was much older. I think in her late 30s. She was the only one I used to compliment, because after a few weeks working with her, nearly realized she doesn't mind compliments. And she used to compliment me all the time. Every time I dress nicely, I niambia, by then hiyo shati yako inakaa poa. So nikona, okay, at least I have established that you and I can exchange compliments. I get. But apart from that, especially wasichana my age, I do not.
I don't think that's healthy.
I don't want to ruin.
So that doesn't sound healthy.
No, because twofold. One.
No, we get it.
One, I genuinely don't want to make Cynthia uncomfortable, especially in the work setting.
And
I genuinely don't.
And
on the other hand, I don't want to get in unnecessary trouble. Again, I've just had a nice week. Then niambiwe, this is going on your disciplinary record. Alafu say, apply jobs kila mali na kuulizanga. Have you ever had a disciplinary case?
Do you even say yes or no? Or true.
So I've been very notorious to not give compliments in the office. Kuja vaa venye unataka.
Again, I disagree. Let's park that question for the psychologist and find a balance between it, because it's true.
Akuja de Ron, you need therapy.
There is need for a balance in how how we talk or how we attend. We as boys and we as girls, but how we deal with each other so that it doesn't get sexual and it doesn't get harassment-ish.
True.
We need to find a balance up. So let's park that for the psychologist. That will help to understand somewhere between you and yako, you're not complimenting, and that kid mwenye ametoka public schools mali akisema umebeba, dem alikuwa reply, asante brayo. Alafu anaenda hii side ingine asema umebeba, anapigwa sas.
You're like, you have to go home.
So we'll find a balance between that, and we'll have that conversation. So to all our listeners, catch us the other Friday, and as we now continue sexual harassment conversation, and we'll be joined by a psychologist and do that in detail. Cynthia, thank you.
You're welcome.
This actually now really puts everything together in terms of what people can do when it happens, what exactly harassment looks like, and at least option tuko nazo internally where we work, where we school, alafu externally mali tunakuhitaji sasa with your services.
Kabisa.
That's all from me. So catch us next time from on a Friday, whether you're listening from Spotify, from different places online. From me, bye.
Bye.
Bye.